You guys seen a good ROI as far as the people who have been involved with you?
Yeah, so we're privately funded, so we are a for-profit entity. And with that in mind, we, of course, invest in the 10 or so best startups we can possibly invest in this year. So we have a application time frame, and then we select the startups, and our investors help us select the last few, the best 10 or so. And early stage startups, specifically in healthcare, it's hard to measure anything because, as you can imagine, if it's a medical device or something like even a pharma, we have a pharma as well, they're years away from earning money. Mm-hmm. They're just concerning themselves with getting to the market or being approved by FDA. Mm-hmm. So what generally has been the agreed upon formula is to measure whether these companies are able to raise money after they go through an accelerator program. And ours have raised over $30 million in the last 3.5 years or so. And that's a really good number.
Wow.
And it's not in absolute terms, believe it or not, in healthcare, this is not considered a huge amount of money. But the first few $100,000 are the hardest you will ever raise, and the first $1 million. It's the hardest money to get the first few dollars in, and that's why this is significant, because the vast majority of healthcare startups, or startups in general, will never raise a dime, even if they try hard. And so this is highly significant because of that. But yes, there's also an acknowledgement that we're not on the coasts where there's a lot more of a culture of investing in early stage innovation.
Yes.
So taking that into consideration, it's an even better success. But on the other hand, we're not going to make excuses. So we measure ourselves against everyone else in the country, and Dallas has shown that it can succeed.
That's awesome.
Good. That's a pretty staggering number. I know you said in your field that's not much, but that's more
in our field,
right?
It is.
That's a lot more than the number that we were expecting to hear you say. That's for sure. But speaking of innovation, with us being based on being innovative in different aspects, we are curious as to what innovation might mean to you, and how do you innovate daily to in your daily life rather.
Yeah, sure. Well, so there's a lot of really clever short one-liners on what innovation is and what it isn't and all that. But ultimately, what matters is the outcome, right? Will it significantly be a significant improvement upon what's out there right now? That's when we usually say, wow, that's cool, that's innovative, that's interesting. We need to add, of course, the part to that equation that not just does it have to be cool and fun or interesting and have a chance at being adopted, but it also needs to be commercially viable. So in science, unfortunately, you'll find plenty of things that are cool or interesting or impressive, but aren't necessarily there isn't a big enough market for this, or it's too complicated or too expensive. So you got to really weigh those two. So some of the better explanations on what innovation is are along, innovation happens at the intersection of two different fields. So you are in electrical engineering and mechanical engineering, but let's say you were to look at something that has to do with the vasculature in the body. That may not be what you're used to, or the heart's pacemaker. That may not be what you're used to, but the same principles apply, except now you're dealing with biological systems. And so when you get enough people together with relevant backgrounds and interesting experiences, you can quickly come up with concepts that might work, maybe pretty proven engineering models that have an application in cardiology or vice versa. So it's really interesting and important to get different people together with different backgrounds. When you want, if you let's say you want to generate ideas or innovation, and then once you've done that and come up with ideas, then you need lots and lots of people around you to help you shoot them all down. So kill the bad ones and weed out. There's a whole and weed on the bad ones and advance the good ones. So there's a whole process around that, and there's books written on that and courses given on that, and how to generate ideas and how to weed them out and how to advance the good ones and what to do to push them towards commercialization.
Okay.
So that's, but I particularly like the fact that it could be the intersection of different backgrounds or professions or different cultures or different languages. That's where that innovation happens. And when you look at a lot of our innovation in this last couple of centuries, or even before, it was really just something that somebody observed in another country, that then when he or she was back in her home country, realized, hey, wait a second, we could take this that I just saw over there, and we could use it for that. And so there's a good book written by Clay Christensen called The Innovator's DNA, and it basically addresses the question of whether you can you learn innovation? Because a lot of people say, you're just going to be born to be an innovator. And he resoundingly denied that. He says, absolutely you can learn innovation. There was only one trait, there was only one thing that helps you be more innovative that you can't learn, you have to experience it. And that was, if you had lived in another country or culture, I think is what he said, for at least 3 months, I think maybe 3 or 6 months. That was an advantage. That person that had experienced that was a lifelong advantage that helped that person to be more innovative. And that was something that you cannot learn. You have to experience it. So I thought that was interesting, because that basically means that anyone can be an innovator if they put their mind to it and follow a process. That gives you a little edge there maybe, but it's not a must.
Yeah. And I really like your answer, the fact that I know we've heard a lot of people say that before, where people often think that they can't be innovative because they don't have that kind of mind, that kind of thought process. And the fact that you found a book and a resource that says refutes that, and it has to do with your experiences. I think that that's very eye-opening and very good for the average person, that this is something you're not born with, but this is a skill you can learn. One thing that we've asked everybody that's a legit segment of our show is, so what are you reading? We've discovered that a lot of the greatest people we've talked to can continually read and absorb information, and that's one thing we've been doing personally, is just reading everything we can find. So what is something you're reading currently?
I am reading about 6 different books right now, which is it could be a good thing or a bad thing, but here they go. The Shores of Tripoli, which is basically it's actually a book by James Haley. It's a book that describes how the U.S. Navy came about, and it's a well-known story. I know the story, but this one is more of it's actually fiction set in telling the real story of how the U.S. Navy came about. The second one is a little bit more mundane, called Execute 2017. It's a book about the healthcare system in general and what's broken with it. The third one is A History of Ancient Rome, SPQR, which is maybe not quite as... it's a little denser, that one.
Yes.
And then I just picked up one in London that has to do with geography. So it's actually the one I just read is on the boundaries of geography. Let me rephrase that. On the fact that certain geography gives certain countries certain strategic.
Is it Guns, Germs, and Steel? I know that's a book.
I read that one
okay.
too, but this one, I can't find it. I was just trying to pull it up, but anyway, it's got a clever title. Anyway, the fifth is the Patient Will See You Now by Eric Topol. But I have read the Guns, Germs, and Steel, and that's a really interesting book too. And by the way, there's a series as well.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they made a three-part series. A three-part movie out of it.
Okay, I'm definitely going to check that out. Well, we want to thank you for your time, and as we bring this podcast to a close, do you have a tidbit of information that you would like to give our listeners, just maybe kind of like your thought for the day or a thought for them, just something you can leave them with? Do you have anything like that? I'm sorry for kind of putting you on the spot, but do you have anything like that?
Oh, this is where I run my infomercial.
Oh.
Healthcare Innovator. Join us here in Dallas. Well, I will say this. If you're interested in healthcare innovation, all you have to do is open your browser and start Googling. You will find resources no matter where you are, whether it's Fort Worth, where you guys are, or Dallas, or anywhere else. There are a lot of resources out there. Don't be shy. Go out there. Go to the networking events. And you will go in there and you might freeze up and say, what the hell have I done? I got up at 7 a.m. and now I'm at this event. I don't know a soul. And let me tell you, I've been there. I've done it. Same story. It's always hard to start. Just like you guys got your podcast started, you got to start somewhere. Just do it. And I've yet to come away from any of those meetings not being enriched. So I always meet someone. I always take something away from these meetings that is significant and important, and sometimes I don't know that at the moment. But that's one of those things, overcome that fear, do it, and trust me, everyone's been in your shoes. We all had to go to our first meeting, and there's still meetings where I might go and say, I don't know many people and I'm not comfortable. Don't worry about it. Good stuff will happen. So half the job is, if you're interested in innovation, just go out there and do it. The community in healthcare innovation and in startups is phenomenal. People will embrace you. They will help you. You'll be amazed because it's a different world. And the startup community, not in healthcare, startup community in general is also very welcoming to people who are going out there and going for it, or at least exploring the opportunities of starting their own startup. So don't be shy. Go out there, do it. And if you're in Dallas, come visit us. We'll help you as well.
Okay. Well, that's great. One more thing. This is the last thing before we wrap up. Do you have any social media that you can share with everyone? So people that are interested in following you or your business on Instagram, Twitter, or anything, what account should they follow?
Yeah, we have. Oh, where's my little cheat sheet? We have. Well, I just saw it somewhere. We printed it on something. I don't know all of them, but mine is my Twitter handle is at Hubert Zajicek. That will not help you if you're listening to a podcast, because there's no way that you'll be able to spell it. But if you put it on the podcast in correct spelling, then it will work. The one for Health Wildcatters is H Wildcatters, not Health, because Health Wildcatters was too long. So H Wildcatters. That's the Twitter handles. From there, you'll find everything else. We are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn as well, but those are probably the best start. Twitter.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Zajicek, for spending time with us today and just telling us more about your business and how you use innovation and everything. And I'm really glad that we got to be able to have this conversation, and you've given us both value and both given us things to think about just by listening to you.